I want to tell you about a soldier named Matthew. And before I even get into what happened inside my courtroom that day, I need you to understand something. This man left his family, left his home, left his country, and went to Afghanistan. He was sleeping in the dirt in one of the most dangerous places on earth, getting shot at, watching his brothers get hurt, risking everything he had every single day. And while he was doing all of that, while he was over there serving and sacrificing, his wife was back home doing things that would have broken most men completely. My name is Patricia Monroe. I was a family court judge for 23 years. I'm retired now. And this is one of the cases I carried off that bench with me. Because this one was not just about a DNA test. This one was about a man who gave everything to his country, and came home to find out that the person he trusted the most had given everything to someone else. Matthew and Brittany had been together since 2008. High school sweethearts. Young love. The kind of couple that everybody roots for. They got married, they had 2 children together, and when Matthew got deployed to Afghanistan, Brittany stayed home with the kids. That was the plan. That was what they agreed on. Now Matthew was not a rich man. He was a soldier. He was making good money by most people's standards, somewhere around $4,000 to $5,000 a month tax-free while he was overseas. The rent on their place was $400 a month. There was money coming in. It was not a fortune, but it was steady and it was enough. Or at least it should have been enough. But Brittany did not see it that way. She said the money was not enough to support the family. She said there were expenses, there were kids, there were bills. And so she made a decision. While her husband was in Afghanistan, she started working at a strip club. Now I am not here to judge anyone's choices about how they make a living. I have seen enough of life to know that people do what they feel they have to do. But what happened next went far beyond working at a club. Brittany started seeing other men. Not once. Not a mistake in a weak moment. Multiple times. With multiple men. While her husband was in a war zone. Matthew found out the way nobody should ever find out anything. He was up at a base in northeast Afghanistan. One of his soldiers came and tapped him on the boot and said, "Hey, we need to talk outside right now." Matthew thought they were about to settle a disagreement they had earlier that day. Instead, this soldier told him that his wife at home with their children, was stripping at a club. Because this soldier's own wife was friends with Brittany and had found out. I want you to sit with that for a moment. This man is in Afghanistan. He is carrying a weapon. He is in danger every single day. And he has just been told by one of his own soldiers that his wife is working at a strip club back home. The thing he specifically told her he did not want her doing. Matthew stayed calm. He went to the internet lounge on the base and he got on Facebook and he asked her directly, "Is it true? Are you doing what I told you I did not want you to do?" And Brittany did not really say anything. She did not deny it clearly. She did not explain herself. She just did not really answer. And then before Matthew could push further, before he could get any kind of real answer from his wife, his base got attacked. And they shut down the internet for 3 weeks. 3 weeks. This man is in the middle of a war zone. He has just found out something devastating about his marriage, and he cannot even get back online to talk to his wife. He was in the dark for 3 weeks with nothing but that information and his own thoughts. When he finally got transferred to another base and got back online, he went to Facebook and he saw a man he did not recognize leaving comments on his wife's photos, liking her pictures, following her. Matthew did what any suspicious husband would do. He started looking into who this man was. And then he called Brittany and said, "Look, I already know about the stripping, I can somewhat deal with that, but tell me about this guy." And she said the same thing that people always say when they are hiding something. "Oh, it is nothing. Just a friend. Nothing to worry about." Matthew did not believe her. So he looked further. He found messages in her inbox that made everything absolutely clear. Messages that said things like, "Oh baby, I cannot wait to see you later tonight. I had the best time with the last few days we spent together." These were not messages from a friend. These were messages from a man who was spending nights with Matthew's wife while Matthew was in Afghanistan keeping people safe. Now when Brittany told her side of the story in my courtroom, she said something that I hear sometimes from people who are trying to justify the unjustifiable. She said, "We were done." She claimed that she and Matthew had a phone argument while he was overseas, and he had said something like maybe we should get a divorce, and she had taken that as the end of the marriage. In her mind she was a free woman. In her mind what she did after that phone call was not cheating because they were already over. I have to be honest with you. I have heard that argument in my courtroom more times than I can count. And every single time I hear it I want to say the same thing. You do not end a marriage on a phone call from a war zone. You do not decide your husband meant it when he said something in the heat of a long-distance argument while he was sleeping in the dirt in Afghanistan. A marriage ends when the paperwork is signed. Until then you are married. And what Brittany did while she was still married was cheating. Plain and simple. But here is where the story gets even more complicated. Because Matthew came home. And despite everything, despite the stripping, despite the messages, despite the other man, when Brittany finally picked him up, they went home together. And within minutes of being home they were back together as husband and wife. Now I am going to tell you something else Matthew told me in that courtroom that surprised me. He said that when he found out about everything overseas he made a decision in his own mind. He decided that if he could get Brittany pregnant when he got home, if he could give her another baby, maybe she would stop stripping. Maybe she would stay home. Maybe they could fix what was broken. So in those first weeks back home they were together constantly. 4 or 5 times a day he said. He was trying to save his marriage the only way he could think of at the time. Within 3 weeks of being home Brittany was pregnant. But here is the problem. Brittany had also been with the other man during that same period. And so when the baby came, an 18-month-old little girl named Liliana, Matthew looked at her and something in him was not sure. He loved her. He was there. But something in the back of his mind would not let him fully give himself to this child the way he gave himself to the other two. And Brittany noticed. She told me in my courtroom that he treated Liliana differently than the other children. And she was right. He did. Because doubt does that to a person. Doubt builds a wall between a man and a child that nobody can see but everybody can feel. Matthew came to my court asking for a DNA test. And sitting across from him was Brittany, who when I asked her directly, "Do you think Matthew is Liliana's father?" said, "Honestly, Your Honor, it could be a 50-50 chance. A 50-50 chance. About her own child. About her husband's child." The room went very quiet when she said that. Now I want to tell you something about Matthew that I remember clearly from that day. Despite everything this man had been through, the deployment, the betrayal, the messages, the other man, coming home to find his wife was not even there to greet him at the ceremony. He said something in my courtroom that stopped me completely. He said, "I am not going to take it out on her even if she is not mine." Meaning Liliana. That little girl. He said if she is not my biological daughter I am not going to punish her for that. I am not going to make her pay for what her mother did. That is the kind of man Matthew was. And that is exactly why what happened next felt like the right ending to a very hard story. I opened the envelope. I looked at the results. And I read them out loud in that courtroom. "Matthew, you are Liliana's father." Brittany broke down immediately. Not sad crying. Relief crying. The kind of crying that comes out of a person when they have been carrying something terrifying for a long time and it has finally been lifted off their chest all at once. She said through her tears, "I knew she was his. I knew it. I just knew it." And Matthew sat there for a moment, processing. Because this man had spent 18 months looking at that little girl, and calling her in his own private moments other person's baby. He had kept her at arm's length. He had built a wall. And now someone had just told him the wall never needed to be there. That little girl was his the whole time. I told Matthew directly in that courtroom, "You have a lot of making up to do with that little girl. A lot." And to his credit he knew it. He said right there in front of everyone, "There is no wall now. She is just like the other two. My daughter. And I have a lot to make up for. But I also said something to both of them that I meant deeply. I told them this marriage belongs to both of you. Not just to Brittany to fix because she is the one who cheated. Not just to Matthew to forgive because he is the one who was betrayed. Both of you made choices that brought you to my courtroom. Matthew tried to fix a broken marriage by getting his wife pregnant instead of having the hard conversation. Brittany convinced herself a phone argument meant her marriage was over so she could do whatever she wanted. Two people. Two sets of bad choices. One family caught in the middle. I said to them, you both have to honor this marriage. You both have to respect it. And you both have to be willing to work on it. Together. Because those 3 children did not choose any of this. They just need their parents to figure it out. Now here is the thing about this case that stayed with me long after they walked out of my courtroom. Matthew had spent 2 years, 2 full years after he found out about the cheating, not letting Brittany forget it, not letting her move past it, bringing it up every single day, reminding her constantly of what she did. And he admitted that to me right there in open court. He said there has not been a single day since February 2011 that I have not made her relive what she did. And I understood why. I understood the anger. I understood the hurt. When you are in a war zone risking your life and you find out your wife is doing what Brittany was doing, that kind of wound does not heal quickly. Maybe it never fully heals. But I also told him, carrying that anger into every single day of your marriage is not punishing her. It is punishing yourself. It is punishing your children. And it is punishing a little girl who had absolutely nothing to do with any of it. You cannot move forward if you are spending every day dragging both of you backward. The truth about this case is simple. 2 young people got married too fast, grew up too differently, and handled the distance and the pressure of military life in ways that nearly destroyed everything they had built together. Matthew went to war and came home to find his marriage in pieces. Brittany made choices that she cannot take back no matter how much she might want to. And a little girl named Liliana spent the first 18 months of her life being held at arm's length by a father who was not sure she was really his. But on that day in my courtroom something shifted. The doubt was gone. The result was clear. And for the first time since Matthew came home from Afghanistan, he held his daughter without a wall between them. Sometimes that is the best a courtroom can do. It cannot undo the damage. Cannot give back the time. It cannot unread the messages or unfeel the betrayal. But it can remove the doubt. It can replace the question mark with a period. And sometimes a period is enough of a foundation to start building something back up from. My name is Patricia Monroe. I was a court judge for 23 years. I'm retired now. And this was one of the stories I carried off that bench with me. There are more. I will see you in the next one.